All right, guys, we've got our Week 14 NFL recap here. I know I've missed the last 2 weeks. The first week, I just missed, and then last week, I was just sick, and I wasn't getting the half-hour-long video out. But we're back, Week 14. We're going to run through the games. There weren't too many games this week, and a couple of them weren't even really worth talking about either, which is funny. But, yeah, let's jump into it. We can start with the Thursday game. Packers at Lions. Lions win this one 34-31. Obviously, the end of game sequence is what everyone will be talking about. Dan Campbell goes for it, 4th and inches. They get it, win the game there. It's probably 50-50 on whether that's a good or bad decision, and probably numerically, I would think. A lot of the models I saw and stuff like that were very 50-50 on it. But yeah, really interesting decision, and, they go out and win games, and that's kind of how they go about going for 4th downs and stuff. They went for 4th down 5 times this game, and they probably needed every one to get to where they got to and ended up winning that football game. So they're always going to be aggressive, whether it's for them or not. Last year in the playoffs, they were aggressive. They even had that 4th down there where the play call was great and the guy just dropped it, that sort of stuff. So you're going to get those situations where it doesn't work out, but, they feel they have an edge, and they're going to keep on rolling with it. As for the game itself, interesting. There are a couple things I noticed that I didn't love early for the Packers. I mean, the offensive line was really bad early. It was getting overrun everywhere. The offensive line, or the offense, woke up, after a quarter or so when they started moving more tight ends in, receivers into chip and things like that. But I didn't love the look from the offensive line really early in that game. Obviously, they turned it around there, even took the lead at some stage, after a pick and stuff like that. Lions, as we said, went for it 5 times. Even before that, 3 out of 4 had that one on their own 30 as well, which I didn't hate either. As I said, they're going to do that, but also not ideal that they were in that situation a lot in this particular game here. So we'll see going forward. Defensive line played better than I thought it would until, Packers kind of adjusted to it, and then the Packers kind of did what they wanted to on offense after that. So we'll see. The Lions, if they drop at any stage and don't win the Super Bowl this year, it'll be because of the defense. Packers, on the other hand, are very much a contender. The offense is good enough, and if the protection holds up, it's really good. Jordan Love is playing really well right now. Defense is okay, not great, but yeah, still a contender here. Next game, we won't have to talk about this one very much. Jaguars at Titans. Jags win this one 10-6. I mean, what a horrible football game. Levis gets hurt somewhere along the line. They score 6 points on offense. The Mac Jones thing going on in Jacksonville is not great. I can't believe people haven't been fired in Jacksonville still, and they're kind of winning game. But I expect them to clean house, I guess, at the end of the season. I've expected them to clean house like 5 weeks ago, and we're still kind of here. Don't expect to see Trevor Lawrence again. And yeah, we talked about Will Levis. We'll see if he's good to go this week. If not, Rudolph, I don't know if that's a decrease or an increase or whatever it may be. Either way, the offense was not moving the ball at all, which is not good. Both defenses played all right, but I mean, what are we talking about here? This is a football game that nobody needed to watch, and if you didn't watch it, lucky you. But yeah, this is kind of just 2 teams that are going to ride the season out, and we'll see going forward. Jets at Dolphins. Dolphins win this one 31-25 in overtime. This was interesting. Jets moved the ball really well most of the game. Outgained Miami, even if you include the 70-yard touchdown drive in overtime. Jets still outgained Miami. They moved the ball quite a bit here, but you cannot, when you're playing good offenses, settle for field goals in the red zone, and the Jets did that quite a bit. Miami, again, offense moved pretty well, not too bad, but defense is still a problem. They're going to have to kind of win out to kind of push for the playoffs here. So we'll see if they can continue to do that. They have a tough game next week at Houston, but Tua continues to play really well. The offense plays pretty well. As I said, the defense is a different story. It is a problem. As for the Jets, they seem to kind of just be playing this out and not kind of just folding all together, which is nice. The defense is still a big old problem and continues to be, and I'm not so sure that that gets better as the season goes on. or as the season kind of comes to a close for them coming down the stretch here. They probably should have won this game outright. To not cover 5.5 is absolutely nuts. So if you have a Dolphins ticket, lucky you, one of them. But yeah, Miami offense looks good. Tua looks good. Defense is a problem. Jets offense looked pretty good. Defense still a problem here, and really should have won that football game, but didn't. Falcons at Minnesota. Falcons win this one 42-21. Score a bit misleading here. This was 21-21 late in the third, and I thought the Falcons were the slightly better team. They were outgaining Minnesota. They were almost all their drives were getting first downs at least. They had more yards per play. They were moving it comfortably. But then it fell apart right there after the third. They tied up 21-21. Minnesota goes down, marches down for a touchdown, and it goes Minnesota touchdown, Atlanta fumble, Minnesota touchdown, interception, Minnesota touchdown. So a 21-point margin here is really crazy considering how the game went. But this is kind of just how the Falcons have been the last couple of weeks. Too many turnovers in games that they're, comfortably in and playing decently well in. The offense, again, it moves the ball fine, and then you get, a bad pick or, in this case, a fumble. And yeah, it's just kind of how the Falcons are right now. Minnesota, I've talked about the defense a little bit, kind of having some holes, and I thought we were here again today. Gave up 21. Yardage was relatively even late there. As I said, the Falcons were moving the ball quite comfortably up until then. You get a fumble and an interception there, and that kind of slows Atlanta down. But, the offense looked good and is bound to look good when you're playing Atlanta. Atlanta's defense has not been good at all year. After the bye, the pass rush has been slightly better, but still nothing too great. As I said, Minnesota's offense, the scheme is great. Sam Darnold's, if you're going to leave him clean, he's going to carve you apart, just in this system especially. And that is what they did as they end up putting up 42. They took their chances when they came to him. You get 2 turnovers late and you kill the game off, and you got to do that in the NFL. But yeah, Falcons now behind in the division. They got to win this week at Oakland, or at Las Vegas, which won't be super easy. And they need Tampa Bay to drop at the Chargers, I think it is. And then they'll be back ahead on the tiebreaker, but they probably have to win out to win this division, and that's not with this defense and their offense that's kind of just turning balls over. It's going to be really, really difficult. Saints at Giants. Saints win this one 14-11. This was a game I watched as a Giants fan because I wanted the Giants to lose this football game. And for the longest time, it looked like they were gonna. Drew Lock, I know people after the whole Danny DeVito thing, people were wondering, it's Tommy DeVito, not Danny DeVito, Tommy DeVito thing. They were wondering why Drew Lock got passed over, and Drew Lock was some great quarterback or good enough or whatever. Drew Lock is awful. He played awful in this game. Outside of the late drive here, this was 14-3 for a long time, and the Saints were comfortably better. Giants weren't moving the football for a long time. They score late, get the ball back with a chance to kind of win this game weirdly. And then it does not quite get there. So the Saints get the win. Derek Carr hurts himself. It's probably Jake Haener from here on out. I think it's a wrist thing for Derek Carr. They were okay in bunches, but again, this is one of those football games like the Jags game where if you didn't watch it, lucky you. Not a lot of talent here on display. Going forward, I expect these kind of teams to kind of just fall away. Giants in particular, I think they're starting Tommy DeVito this week at home to Baltimore. The spread's 16.5 on that one. I assume they get crushed. But yeah, Giants are going to chase that one pick. We'll see what happens going forward there. And the Saints are kind of just stuck in mediocrity and have been for a long time. I have no idea why the Saints don't push the reset button here. I really don't know why not. But, it just continues to be years like this. You're going to win 6, 7, 8 games and nothing happens. It just continues to be this way. But, whatever they want to do, I suppose. I'm not in charge of the organization. Next, we have Panthers at Eagles. Eagles win this one 22-16. This was an interesting one. Get a late drop by the rookie wide receiver. Why am I missing his name right now? Leggett. Xavier Legette. Wide open, walk-in touchdown. He drops it, and Eagles end up holding off there. They win the game if he gets in there. Well, I don't know if they win the game. Eagles still have 30 seconds, but they go ahead 23-22 there with 30 seconds to go. Bryce leads them on a 97-yard, quote-unquote, game-winning drive. He was, again, pretty good today. I mean, good for Bryce to kind of come out of that benching and, look a little bit like his old self out at Alabama. So good for him. He played decently again today. He's starting to make some real, some proper NFL throws, which is good. I think he came out and just kind of, I don't know if you want to say shook the nerves off, but you can play with more freedom. Maybe he just assumed that he wasn't getting this job back next year and was just like, kind of put some NFL throws on tape and maybe have a go at it and get picked up somewhere else. But he may have, saved his job here going into next season. So that's pretty good. Eagles defense is all right. They played down a little bit today probably, but the offense still has issues. This is not a good defense in Carolina. That's kind of taken a bit of a step the last week or couple of weeks. I think the whole team's kind of just made a little bit of a jump, but Eagles offense still has spurts where they don't do much of anything, which is interesting. They look like a machine a lot of the time, and then a lot of the time you're like, they haven't moved the ball in excuse my cat. They haven't moved the ball in 4 drives. A lot of that with the Eagles. We'll see going forward. I think this is one of the top defenses in the league, at least. And which should help them very much in the playoffs. There aren't too many good defenses around. So if they can get the offense kind of clicking going into the playoffs here, they'll be very, very dangerous in the postseason. Browns at Steelers. Steelers win this one 27-14. This was an interesting one. Jameis is Jameis. We talk about that every single week. But Pittsburgh played so much better in the second half. Early on in this game, it took them a while to get going. It took the Browns a while. I don't want to say a while to get going. They were kind of in it for the first half and a little bit after that. 2 or 3 more missed field goals from the Browns. How they don't have another kicker is beyond me. They outgained the Steelers again here. This is just kind of a typical Steelers game, pretty much. You get outgained, but you take your chances. You cause your turnovers. You get a couple sacks, and it turns the tide in your favor, and that's what the Steelers do. But as I said, they were comfortable in the second half for sure. Didn't need to move it a ton. First half was a little bit, as I said, iffy. They go into the half up 13-10 or 13. It may have been, I think it was 13-7. Browns miss, as I said, 2 or 3 field goals there, and that's probably a tie game after that first Browns drive after the break. But then Steelers score, get a turnover. It's 27-7, and the game's done and dusted. But another win for the Steelers, who continue to push for the division. They got that Ravens game. I'm not sure if that's next week or not. They go to Philadelphia, and then they go to Baltimore, I believe it is. So they go to Philadelphia. That's a real test. They haven't played too many tough teams necessarily. Pittsburgh, you got that Chargers game they won, and then they won the Steelers game, or they won the Ravens game, which is division, and for whatever reason they have Lamar's number on that one. But we're going to get an out-of-conference game here on the road against a top 2 or top 5, I guess, if you want to just be safe, top 5 football team. So it'll be a very good test for Pittsburgh next week. Raiders at Bucks. Bucks win this one 28-13. This was a really weird football game. Bucks come out 14-0 quick, and you think, hey, they're going to run away from a Raiders team that's kind of just dead at this point. And then their next 4 drives to end the first half were interception, fumble, punt, interception. And some weird decision-making there. As we said, the fumble there, and it's a tight game at half all of a sudden. Then the second half was punts from everybody until late. Raiders kick a field goal, make it 14-13, I think. But then it was just punts until the Bucks scored on their last 2 drives to win this football game. Very weird. This Bucks team, it's interesting because I don't think they're that good. This is a really nice stretch for them, though, against some really bad football teams outside of the Chargers game next week. They win the Chargers game next week at Los Angeles. They're going to win the division. They're up here. If they win out, they win the division. If they win 3 games, they probably win the division. But as I said, it's a nice schedule going forward. Raiders are kind of dead. They're in for that 1 pick. But they could also win the division for the Bucs next week if they beat the Falcons at home on Monday night. So still some games there for the Raiders that can cause problems elsewhere. But as I said, Raiders currently in the number 1 slot in the NFL draft, and I'm not super sure if they want to vacate that spot going forward. As for the Bucs, if they win the division here, Bucs or Falcons, I feel like I'd be more confident that the Falcons could pull off a first-round win. I don't necessarily know if the Bucs can, with this roster, with this defense, can go in and win a playoff game. We'll see, though. I mean, you're going to get a really good team in the 5. It's probably going to be Minnesota or Green Bay if something crazy happens and Minnesota comes back and wins that division, which is still very possible. Getting Detroit, which they beat earlier in the year, but they didn't beat Detroit like anything crazy. I mean, Detroit had 500 yards of offense and just couldn't finish in the red zone. That's one of those games where if the score was 30-10, it would have been pretty fair. But yeah, it'll be tough for them. But as I said, division's in their hands, and they got the route to going ahead and winning it from here. Seahawks at Cardinals. Seahawks win this game 30-18. Cardinals jumped out to a 7-0 lead, went right down the field on the opening drive, and you thought, hey, maybe the Seahawks D is not particularly ready. Maybe that last game was a bit of an anomaly because they, moved the football decently despite only scoring 6. And then it turned from there, and it was definitely not close after that. 24-10 at the half. Seattle moving the ball easy. As we said, this game finishes 30-18. That probably does it for the Cardinals. We have a Cardinals to miss the playoffs at plus 130 ticket, which we're going to hit from here, it looks like. We also have the Seahawks under 9.5, and that's probably not going to hit from here. But there are still some tough games for Seattle. Though, that being said, if they beat Green Bay at homecoming, they probably win this division from there. But they have to play Green Bay, and they have to go to LA. So this is not done and dusted yet, but they've probably knocked the Cardinals from contention. McDonald has this team playing really good D. I think a lot of what happens is, you get a new coordinator or a new coach in this case who's taking over the defense pretty much. He comes in to a new team, new squad, probably a little bit complicated, and it takes him a little bit to go. And then you get to the bye and you have a week to kind of work on it and really solidify that stuff. And after the bye, they've been really, really good, and they've taken a significant jump on defense. And outside that first drive, they were really, really good all the way through this football game on the road. So props to McDonald for really getting this defense going. This will be dangerous. This is a dangerous team. If the defense is good, because there are so few good defenses in the league, if the defense is good going into the playoffs, you're going to get that home game. If you win the division here and you see this out, you get that 12th man thing up there. It'll be tough to go to Seattle and win a football game. And you're probably going to get the 3 seed, which means you get the 6, which is probably Green Bay. So maybe we're getting a early preview here of a playoff game further down the road. But yeah, very good from the Seahawks, and they continue to improve. Bills at Rams. Rams win this one 44-42. What a football game. Just back and forth all day long. Josh Allen, 6 total touchdowns. I think 3 passing, 3 rushing. So the Rams put up 44. Props to McVay for going for it late. 4th and 5, they're up 3. I think in the analytics kind of community there, going for it on 4th down when you're up 3 late has just been something they've been crying out for. McVay did it here, and McVay's shown the last couple of close games that late in the game that he's getting a little bit better. That was always something that was difficult for him, and something that kind of passed him by, and something that was just holding them back a little bit. It holds back that whole tree, I think, really. Shanahan's kind of like that too, where they're just too conservative. But he's been much, much better the last couple of weeks in this season altogether. Bills defense, not ideal, not great a showing, but the offense again looked really good, and that's just kind of who the Bills are probably. That being said, they're in the AFC where there aren't any really great defenses. You're probably going to get some, like if the Bills play the Chiefs in the playoffs, you may get a more defensive game because, McDermott's a good defensive mind, Spagnuolo's a good defensive mind, but just all around there just aren't, week to week. You're on the road, NFC team, cross conference, these games, I don't want to say don't mean anything, but it's been documented by by coaches and players that these are the games you're not necessarily rewriting games, or you're not necessarily rewriting your game plan for. So they're going to get games like this where the offense is good, defense isn't. Happened again today. A nice win for the Rams, who keep themselves in the hunt in the division. Again, offense looked good. Puka Nacua continues to be really great. I think he got hurt again. That feels like every game Puka goes for 100 and an injury. But he was really good. He was getting a ton of, rushing as well. I think he had a rushing touchdown there. Almost 20 yards rushing on a couple of carries as well. So, yeah, very fun game. And a nice win for the Rams. Bills, that may take the 1 seed away from them and then just keep it in Kansas City. We'll see going forward. Kansas City are a different team we'll talk about in a bit, but yeah, really good game, really fun game, but yeah, I'm not so sure. Games like that are difficult to kind of gauge in terms of, future play and stuff like that. You don't necessarily, it's just more of an outlier that was just tons of fun, and that's kind of it. Bears at 49ers. Niners win this one 38-13. This was the most lopsided football game in the first half that I've seen ever. Niners were leading in yards 322-2 or something crazy like that in the third quarter or late in the second quarter or whatever it was. I'm really pissed off I didn't lay 3.5 or 3. I just didn't understand it, and that's what kind of worried me. But this Bears team is not good. The defense is falling apart right now. It seems like Eberflus, it's similar to when Saleh left the Jets, where the defense took a little bit of a tumble. It seems that way here, in terms of the defense taking a tumble after Eberflus left, even though he's not a good coach. He was coaching up the defense a little bit, it looks like. But yeah, really not ideal. 49ers get back on track a little bit here. They're not completely dead. They're probably going to have to win out to have a chance. Even if they don't here, they got a couple division games left. I know they go to Arizona on the final day. They're going to need Seattle to drop a game or two, need the Rams to drop they play the Rams coming. They're going to need to win that game on Thursday. So it's a very tough path for the 49ers. They're not completely dead yet. We'll see if Purdy's fit. He seems half and half right now in terms of health. Excuse my cat bouncing around down here. But yeah, this game, not much to talk about. It was dead and gone really, really early. Chargers at Chiefs. Chiefs win this one 19-17 with a field goal in off the post right at the end there. They win the division. We had a nice bet on that. Chiefs to win the division, parlayed with Oregon to make the college football playoff, which was pretty much no sweat on both sides. So that's nice. Yeah, this is just the Chiefs. And I kind of struggle with, is the defense any good? Sometimes they go to, they go to Carolina, give up a ton. And then they kind of just hold the Chargers to 17, and there were so many 3-and-outs that the Chargers had. Chargers were punting on every drive early in that game in the first half. And then they do enough to kind of just win it. If they're just going to get the ball, and that's kind of it late in the game. They had that 3rd and 7. It seems that they convert all of those too. They're 10-0 in one-score games, which is crazy. I know the one-score game thing is pretty interesting to me because, most of the time it kind of evens out. But I assume with really good quarterbacks that hedges still the other way. And when they need a drive, they seem to come up with a drive. The red zone stuff is a problem. They are really not doing much of anything in the red zone. They are struggling a lot to just do anything. They had that weird stretch early with the running game too, where Pacheco got 5 carries in the first 7 snaps, I think, as they moved up the field the first time. And then after that, they only ran the ball 2 times out of the next 25 plays, which was also interesting. Left tackle spot is really bad still, like really bad left tackle. I know they signed, I forgot what his name was. DJ something, I forgot what his name was, but that's not an upgrade. It's a sideways move, if anything. So left tackle's a problem. They're probably gonna have to start getting some guys chipping out there, but yeah, not ideal. Chargers, on the other hand, second half they were really good. Defense looked pretty good. Offense was really bad in the first half and pretty good in the second half. And yeah, the Chargers are going to have to figure out the run game, and before Dobbins comes back. Kept getting mentioned on the broadcast. They just don't throw to the running back either, and they don't really have weapons when Ladd McConkey's not playing. So it's it's a bit of a mess when Ladd's not playing and when Dobbins is not playing. But when they're too healthy, it's pretty good. The defense is okay. Chiefs moved it for yardage, but tightened up in the red zone again. Chargers defense a part of that, and they were getting to Mahomes quite a bit here too. So yeah, an interesting game. We'll see going forward. Again, with the Chiefs, it's just going to be this way. Chargers are most likely in the playoffs. And if they're fully healthy on offense and the defense is playing at an okay level, they can win a game or two in there as well. They've got a really good quarterback in Herbert, who continues to play really well. A little bit, I think he got just like a really bad knock on his thigh. I think he just got a knee to the thigh there, so I think he's all right. Was struggling walking a little bit there, but he should be good going in the next week. And they have a big game against a defense that they should be able to move the ball against if they're healthy, but we'll see if McConkey's playing and everything like that. And the final game on Monday, Bengals at Cowboys. Bengals win this one 27-20. Another really weird one. Cowboys block a punt, and they're probably going to win the football game, and then that guy goes to pick it up, misses, and Bengals get it back, and then 40-yard touchdown to Chase, and yeah, game over after that. Very weird. Bengals continue to be the Bengals. This defense can't stop anybody. Can't do too much. They get that pick deep in the red zone there that kind of probably saved them here. Otherwise, the Cowboys put up another 27 on this defense. The offense is great still. It continues to be good. It's just Burrow and Chase just playing catch in the park half the time, it feels like. Another 160 here for Chase and a couple touchdowns, I feel like. So, yeah, that for the Bengals, they're not technically out of it, but they would need a ton to go their way and to win out. And with this defense, I doubt it. Cowboys kind of just cruising into the finish line here. They go to Carolina next week, which is an interesting one, and they're underdogs, which is crazy. So yeah, really interesting. There were a lot of good games this week. But they were kind of on different days, which is funny. You get that early Thursday game, Packers Lions, 2 really good teams there. Then some fun stuff early on. A lot of these games were mostly dead late. Then you get the Bills Rams, which was great. Chiefs Chargers was all right, and at least the island games were pretty good going forward. But yeah, interesting week in the NFL. We're kind of winding down here. This is week 14, obviously only a couple more weeks to go, and as everything shapes out, hopefully we can win some bets going forward and get some good playoff games coming this year, guys. But that's gonna be it. Appreciate it.